So Candyman 2, it's not called Candyman 2, it's called Candyman Farewell to the Flesh. They dropped the number right away. Tuesday Night was supposed to be in this movie, but she turned down the role and she regrets it, supposedly. Tuesday Night from Dream Master. The original idea behind this movie was a prequel, and they scrapped that. The original director was going to write and direct it again, and they scrapped his idea, and that's a shame. Like, I would have preferred his movie than this one, probably. This one, like most sequels, it shows you Candyman within 10 minutes, whereas the first one, it was like 45 minutes until you saw Candyman. Now, let's get into my dislikes. This movie has lots of jump scares, the scares where it's like the boyfriend or the husband sneaks up on the person. Like, oh my gosh, you snuck up on me. I hate it. Just fucking quit. Lots of jump scares. The first one didn't. The scares, like when his hand would come out of the mirror, there was no noise that came with it. It was just boom, hand. Legit scare on its own. Doesn't need music to make it work. This one, it feels like it does. So it just inserts all these stingers and loud noises. It just pisses me off. And part 3 does that too. And I didn't care for the DJ narration. It felt pretty pointless. I don't know why it's in here. It just does nothing. It's kind of annoying, actually. But at one point, he's like, I just wish there would be a hurricane. And it's New Orleans that got destroyed by Katrina 10 years later. So I was just laughing at that. So this movie takes place in Mardi Gras in New Orleans, whereas the first one took place in Chicago. And even though they're at Mardi Gras, which is famous for bead throwing and tit flashing, there's no boobs whatsoever in this entire film. And that's bullshit.
Bullshit!
Mardi Gras, no tits, what the fuck? And so, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure I am. Wasn't Candyman like a local legend? Like, he was only known locally in Chicago. I thought it was just like this local myth. And I like that. But now it's like, no, the whole nation knows about it. So it just kind of takes that away. It's like, oh, everybody knows about it? That's lame. Candyman, the way he's defeated in this movie, is a CGI mess. I did not care for that at all. It kind of reminded me of King Hodder's death in Wishmaster. It's just, why? Why resort to that? It looks pretty horrid. It's bad. And the story is just derivative, copying the first one. Like, there's nothing else you can do with this story and this guy. Like, you could do whatever the fuck you want. Why does it always gotta be a research story and, I need a clear my name story at the same time? It's just the same drum that they're beating again and again. And again, same kills like the first movie and the third movie. It's hook in the back and he somehow can like punch a hole through you with this hook. It's not like the whole thing is sharp, it's just the point, and he hits you with the hook, the loop part of it, and then like stabs up. It does get a little bit more vicious this time around, because that's what sequels do. They up the body count, they up the gore, not really in this one. And they up the violence, they up the screen time of the bad guy, and you got all of that here. And so, other than that, the things that I liked about this movie is I like that the book that the guy from the first movie, the guy who told the story at the dinner table, he's back. I like that he's back, has continuity, and I like that he brings up Helen. He just for like a little moment, but he brings her up. This is like 3 years later, and he's like showing this newspaper clipping of her on this projection screen, and he's like telling the story of part 1, giving us the lore again, in case this is your first time watching a Candyman movie. And the book he's selling has a reflective cover, so it's like a mirror. So when you're reading the book, you can shut it and be like, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. And obviously this is his first stop on his book tour. From Chicago, his first stop for his tour was all the way in New Orleans, conveniently. So, because he apparently is saying the Candyman thing 5 times as part of his, like, joke, his routine. Like, that's what he's going to do on every stop of the way. That, and break the projection screen, which is just ridiculous. He has this prank setup where he'll, on every stop of his book tour, he'll close the book at some point, say it 5 times to show that the thing, that Candyman's not real to the crowd, and all of a sudden a fake hook will just punch through the projection screen, breaking it right next to his head. But the guy on the other side can't see exactly where he's standing, so they have to have something set up, like tape on the ground, like, okay, I'll stand here, you stand there, so you don't fucking, like, smash my head with the hook when you break through, because that's a dangerous prank, and it's an expensive prank, because they're breaking projection screens again and again, every time they do that prank, which I'm sure they were going to do again and again, but since Candyman's real, he only got to do that prank once, because now he's dead. Another thing I like about this movie is the character Paul. He kind of looks like Bradley Cooper in a bit, just a little bit. And I think it's just like his eyes. His eyes kind of look like Bradley Cooper. But he was the only like standout character. He was the most charismatic, the most like funny. He stood out. I liked him. And I like that we get little flashbacks in this movie that show you Candyman's demise, and he's on the ground and they're sawing his hand off, and you see why they came up with the name Candyman as they're putting honey on him. This kid is licking honey off of him. He calls him Candyman. So then the whole crowd just goes along with it, like, yeah, Candyman. And then he looks in the mirror and he says his name, Candyman. He dies and his soul's in the mirror. That's the new added lore. But I like that we got to see the flashback of that. And I like that the composer Philip Glass came back to compose this movie once again. Final thoughts. I thought this was an okay sequel. It's got cast continuity with that guy at the beginning. It's also got story continuity. It doesn't ignore part one. It's 3 years later, so I like all that. I like the little reference to Helen. I like that there's a little bit more kills, and that they're a little bit more brutal, but there's no real carnage and gore here. Like I said, the score is good. It's an okay movie. I think if you like the first one, you will like this one, but nowhere near as much. Like, maybe. I don't know. But it's worth checking out. So stream it, borrow it from a friend, or rent it at Redbox. Spoiler discussion. The professor from part one, he's back like that, and he gets killed in the bathroom. And Annie's brother gets framed for it because he admits that he killed him for some reason. I don't get that at all. Why would you take the fall for it? They go to this mansion where supposedly Candyman grew up in. So Candyman grew up in New Orleans. That's where he was born, raised, and killed, according to this movie. I don't think that was ever said in the first one. So, like I said, this one tweaks things, it adds things, and so does the third one. And so they're at this mansion, and it's all dilapidated. It looks like shit. It looks like it's been falling apart for over like 25 years at least. And the main girl goes there, and she's like, yeah, well, it looks like this because, it's been 13 years since we lived here. 13 years? No. Try 25. It's been way longer than 13. And then there's like a flashback to when her dad died there, and it still looks the same, exactly. All the graffiti everywhere. It still looks like shit. So they always look like shit when they live there. They need to hire a housekeeper, cleaning lady, because they ain't doing a good job. The main girl's a teacher, and she tries to prove to the boys that Candyman's not real. So she says it 5 times, and then, yeah, the rest of the movie happens because of that. And there's a dream sequence. Ugh, can't stand dream sequences. Then we get the return of that the bee face gag from the first one. They bring that back, and Tony Todd's got all the bees on his face. I wonder how many times he got stung in this one. And then we see this ice cream guy, this snow cone guy, and he's the bartender from Back to the Future Part 3. He's got like all this ice cream on his arm, and this chick's just like licking it off of him. So automatically his character's awesome. But then he gets killed, he gets stung to death. At least that's different than, getting hooked in the back. And he just gets thrown right through the wall. And the cops, for some reason, just can't find their way in there to catch Annie. And even though Annie is prime suspect number 1, and Tony Todd, his character, he's doing everything to frame her, by the end of it, nobody takes the fall that I believe. Helen takes the fall in the first one. And this crazy cop in part 3, he takes the fall. In this one, nobody does. So why isn't Annie arrested? Like, she should be arrested. Like, there's no way. Like, I understand that one cop, she sees the tape where the other cop's getting killed, and he's suspended in the air, like, being held by an invisible man that they can't see. So there's your evidence. But would anyone really believe that? Like, they would just, any rational person would be like, well, then somebody altered the tape. Somebody did something. They would just believe that her brother did it, and her, because, like, the brother, he gets shot and killed, because when that cop gets killed, he's like, oh shit, they're going to think I did it. So he runs out the door and he gets shot. But there's all these other murders happening too while he's locked up. So they have to think that the sister's involved too, but Annie never gets arrested. She just gets to walk into the sunset at the very end, like, it's all over now. I can go on with my life. It's like, no, you should be arrested for everything. Like, there's no evidence to support that it was Candyman or all just your brother. There's been bodies piling up with him locked up. So it's you. So, like, she should be arrested. So then we find out that they're related. So it's like Halloween 2, the sequel. That we got to have somebody be related to the killer. And the parents were hiding the secret all along, cliche. The parents knew, but the kids didn't. And then we find out that his soul was in the mirror, so they got to go break the mirror. And, like, she gets there, and there's the mirror. It's just sitting right there on the wall, ready to grab. Why would Candyman just leave it right there? Like, he can grab things. It's not like he's a ghost where if he went to grab it, his hand would go through it. No, he could just grab that mirror and hide it. But he doesn't. She sees the mirror, and she knows that if she breaks it, it's over. Candyman, dead, gone. But for some reason, she just wants to get all dramatic about it, like she's in a movie, and slowly reach out for the mirror instead of just grabbing it, poosh, break it, over. No, I gotta be all dramatic about it and give Candyman an opportunity to sneak up on me and prevent me from grabbing it. It's just stuff like that just irritates the piss out of me. So she breaks the mirror with the help of this kid and who was missing for some reason. I don't know what the fuck he was trying to do, why he was gone for so long, why he ran away from home, scaring the shit out of his pastor parents. What a dick. And so he helps her and she breaks the mirror, and then we get this awful CGI death of Candyman. He's falling all apart, shattering. There's some moments where it looks okay, and then there's just moments where it's like, okay, that's pretty fucking bad. They could have just done it practically. It's the same thing with like part 3, and I'll get to that. It's CGI fire, like they couldn't use real fire and a fire stunt double. Really, it's just ridiculous. So I think that's it. And it flashes forward 5 years later because at some point in the movie we find out she's pregnant and she gives birth and she names the kid Caroline, the same name that was Candyman's girlfriend. So I'm not sure why she named her after a serial killer's girlfriend. Whatever. So yeah, then like her daughter Caroline is like trying to say it in the mirror 5 times, and then she stops her like, don't say it. Why not? You killed him, right? Obviously not. So because there's a third one. Of course there's a third one. There always is. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. Become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, I'll